New Jersey is now the latest flashpoint in President Trump's federal immigration crackdown. It all centers around the privately owned Delaney Hall Immigration Detention Center. Protests have erupted for days now over reports of substandard conditions inside the facility, reports of detainees being beaten, pepper sprayed, and their food crawling with maggots. There are also reports that immigrant detainees are being pressured to sign deportation agreements that give up their legal right or their right to legal counsel to appeal their cases or to seek asylum. In other words, you want to get out of this detention center, sign your own deportation order. Now, it's hard to verify these reports because ICE denies access to these facilities, not just to the federal legislators who have a legal right to inspect them, but to us as well, to the media. And it's taken to restricting these federal lawmakers from freely speaking to people who are in detention. As the American Immigration Council notes, quote, obstructing visits from elected officials to detention facilities has become ICE's calling card. Joining me now is Alan Orr, a longtime immigration attorney and a founder of the Orr Immigration Law Firm. Alan, thank you for being with us. I have to, last night, one of the things that happened is there was somebody released. Like it was like out of a side door. Somebody, every now and then someone gets released from this thing. And what one of the advocates for the families was telling me is that in many cases, these are successful habeas filings. Somebody has a lawyer, they're able to prove that they shouldn't be in detention, and they get released. But in many cases, this bond issue comes up where they might be released, but a judge is denying them bond for various reasons. So there are people who are being held there, and they may have access to the legal system, and they still can't get out.
All right. So let's just start from a bigger picture, because I really think I have to say this from the position of being a civil rights lawyer and an immigration lawyer. This is a mess. And what New Jersey has done is they've stuck their hand in the mess, and they're going to get pulled down because there is no right way for them to swing. And this is a lot of the reasons why local governments don't want to get involved in immigration enforcement, because who's paying for all these things New Jersey is doing right now? Those local cops on the street, their families, the people in New Jersey. New Jerseyans are paying the taxes, the extra cost of that from their position. And now the story, the narrative about the people and the protesters is in the hand of New Jerseyans, not in the hand of the government. So if we back up a little bit, what you said before is how you do one thing is how you do everything. There's detention facilities all over the United States, and this is not the only place where detention individuals, people being detained, are not getting their rights, not being able to see the lawyers, and not being able to see the family, and not being fed appropriately. While these detention facilities make $50 million a year. So it's not a cost issue as to why they don't want to give them the food or the appropriate housing. It's because they don't want to. In addition, we're not solving for anything. 1,000 immigrants detained in New Jersey does not solve for the 11 million immigrants that are stranded throughout the United States. So what we have seen is that the federal government is now breaking the federal courts by all these habeas cases, and we immigration attorneys are winning it. But the case is you have to, one, be able to access me. There's only 18,000 of us to get there, and there's probably around 20,000 individuals in detention facilities and no access to us. And then once we have to litigate their case, go through federal court, win, almost 90% of those cases are being won, and they get the individual released. Now they're removed from their job, they've lost their family, they might have lost their housing because they've not been able to pay rent. So how is this helping the United States? Which is a question that we come back to. What have we solved for? Absolutely nothing. And these private prisons, the GEO, is a private company. And this is what I tell people to do. Go and look who owns it. Go to the stockholders. That is also a message to tell them to stop doing these things. Protesting is fine on the street, but when you protest them in the pocket, you get actual change, as we've seen happen with the bus boycotts across the United States many times before.
Yes. By the way, you might be a stockholder yourself. It's important to look into your stock holdings. These are it is a very, very, very profitable business. Now, Alan, this is not new. As a civil rights lawyer, you will know this. We have been incarcerating people in America basically since the end of slavery to get to make a for-profit prison system or working system. This is sort of an extension of it. It is very. There's a lot of money for everybody who is arrested and stuck in Delaney Hall and these 220 or so. The privately owned facilities.
That's right. And it's not money that's coming back to. So let's think about this for a second. And this also happened in New York City a little bit when we were talking about giving people food cards rather than not giving them direct food so they can buy the food that's appropriate to them. When those facilities buy that food, they're buying from a United States farmer. So that money is being generated in our society. It's not like the money's just going out the door. So to give them the appropriate food and do the appropriate things, but when you deny them that food, and you only give them limited food from limited resources, what you do is you increase your profitability along those lines. And that's really the greater problem. Prisons should not be for profit because punishment is not for profit. And in this immigration civil world, detention should not be about punishment. And that's the reason why there's so much going on in court right now about mandatory detention and why you see the split in circuits. This is not how immigration detention was supposed to happen. And if these immigrants have been here for 10 to 12 years, why do you think they're a flight risk? And if you could find them yesterday, why can't you find them tomorrow when you're able to process them through the court? And the reason why many people are signing those petitions to leave, taking voluntary departure, and they're still not being removed is because every day those companies are getting paid based on the threshold to have those beds filled, a mandatory detention.
It's a perverse incentive to have for-profit detention centers for immigration. Alan, thanks as always. Alan Orr is a longtime immigration attorney. He's a founder of the Orr Immigration Law Firm.